Hey guys, Jami here. I'm here chatting to Sean today. Hey Sean, thanks for joining. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today, namely because you're one of our interns, and part of the reason why we brought you on board is because you so very much resonate with the vision and mission because you've dealt with your own health struggles, and so I'm just really looking forward to sharing your story with the community and hearing what you have to say, especially because for for those of you that are listening, Sean had a brain tumor at the age of 17, and so you're going to tell us about that. And it's such a young age to be dealing with such a massive thing. So can you take us back to that moment when you're 17 years old, it's your last year of high school, right before HSC, and the doctor tells you you have a brain tumor. What was that moment like for you?
I think for me, it was a bit of a relief because
Wow.
at that point, these things were going on for like a few months, like 2 to 3 months, and just for me, I think just knowing that I can have a brain surgery and that would be it was kind of just like, oh, okay, so that's all I have to do, and the rest of the year will be fine. I just have to take medication for a while and it'll go away. But sadly, that just wasn't the case, I guess.
So you were essentially kind of dealing with some health issues for a number of months, and then when you got the diagnosis, it was like relief, like I finally know what's wrong,
Yeah,
sort of
because
thing.
monthly into that diagnosis, what would happen was every time I got up, every time I go for a walk, every time I like get out of bed, and like my whole left side. So it would start off in my left leg, and then it would kind of just like weaken, and then I'd feel that weakening travel up and then go into my arm, and then my arm would weaken and then contract into like a weird sort of motion, and it would just lock for like a few seconds, like 2 to 3 seconds, and then it would just go away, and then I could be fine, and then I'll just keep walking, and it would just. It started around I say June, July. That's when it started to progressively get worse, and then yeah, towards like August, it got like pretty bad, where it would happen pretty much every time.
And what was that diagnosis journey like for you then? What was the process like?
So I never told anyone that this sort of thing was happening to me. I thought it was fairly normal at the time. I just thought it was kind of weird that it was
Yeah.
happening because
Wow.
how what I remember was that early on in my childhood, like around the age of say 11, 12, every time we go out for sport, um, I would just feel that sensation, that weakening sensation, like sort of like a tingling
Yeah.
in my left side when I go for a run at the start of sport, and it would never happen again. So sport being only like happening once a week, I figured it was just like a one-off. So I never told anyone until that year. Well, I was meant to go to some place like some HSC thing in the city, and I told my mom, well, I can't really go that far because I'm having trouble walking. Like
Wow.
I
And
can't.
up till that point, your parents had no idea
They had no idea.
that you were struggling to walk.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would keep
Wow.
it. I'd say pretty well hidden. To the
Because at this stage, you still thought that was normal?
Yeah, I still
Or
thought it was normal. It was just a bit weird and a bit funny
okay.
that it was happening.
Yeah. So you told your mom
Yeah, I
and
told my mom, and then we went to the GP. And when I got called up to go to the GP, as I walked to his office, it happened, and pretty much like the whole thing happened. Like my left side weakened, and then it locked, and I had to lean against the wall. And the GP saw me because he normally walks with you to his office, right?
yeah.
So he saw that happen, and he basically said, come in, come in, we need to get this solved right away." And that afternoon, I I got asked to do a CT scan, I think. And then after that, I went home. And then a couple hours later, they called up and said, "Hey, you need to come back immediately." And I said, "Why?" You need to do an MRI. And we didn't really know what was happening at the time. We just went back. And after that MRI, they said, well, we found something. It seems like you have a brain tumor. And at
Wow.
that point, I mean, I can't even remember. I think maybe I was kind of shocked a little,
Yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, I did feel a bit of relief just knowing that
Was
there's
there
something
even
there at least.
maybe a little bit of validation, a feeling of validation, like, okay, I do actually have something wrong, a diagnosable thing wrong with me?
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause I didn't even like do the whole Google search thing, you know. I
Oh.
wasn't even searching like,
You're not
oh,
like,
what could this
I'm
be?
dying.
Yeah. I was thinking along the lines of like Stephen Hawking, I think at that time.
Okay.
But then I thought that's definitely not it because it's not going that severe and I can still like function somewhat normally. So
Yeah.
I guess for me I was like, oh, okay, brain tumor, so that's what's happening.
Wow, that's actually really probably a good thing you didn't do the Google search. 'Cause
Yeah.
in my journey with chronic illness, I would always be searching, and I'd be going to see my parents like, I think I have this. I think it's like really serious, and like could be like fatal. Like, you know,
Yeah.
we joke about it, but I think sometimes we can be quite fatalistic about our own health.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's easy
So
to just fall into that trap.
yeah, so props to you for
Thank
not
you.
going down that train. So fast forward to, you know, like you get diagnosed, feeling a relief. What was the next step after that?
The next step after that was just because of the severity of it. I think they said the tumor was like 3 by 3 by 3 centimeters in
Okay, wow.
size.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, we have to, book a surgery straight away because this is pretty severe, especially with what it's doing to like my mobility. So I think by late August we had booked a surgery for October, the 8th of October, and it was just kind of like leading up, just waiting until I can get a surgery and get this all over and done with at that point.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you had the surgery. What was the post-op recovery period like for you?
Post-op recovery period, it was basically just the term off. So it was surgery happened term 3, term 4 of year 11, and obviously year 11 only really being 3 terms. It was the start of year 12. So the first term in year 12, I just took it off. I stayed at home, stayed in bed, just lie down. I was just given medication to take for at that time they were diagnosed as seizures, but as I
Okay. Wow.
soon came to find out that they weren't exactly so, I'd say.
Okay, so you're 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You get diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Yep.
And you have to get this operation.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what's that like for? I mean, as a 17-year-old, that's the time when you're just about to take your HSC. You're about to step into like adulthood and
Yep.
finding your way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as a 17-year-old, how, like, what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind? Probably not the same thing as everyone else's mind. Everyone was like really worried and going through like the risks and all that. And I mean, obviously they would, like my parents would, my friends and family would. But to me, that whole surgery was just like, oh, I can get a surgery, take a month or so off school, and then I can come back, in full swing, and then just knock the HSC out and be on my merry own way. But as I soon came to find out, because it is a brain surgery, right? And
Yeah.
where the tumor was,
That seems slightly optimistic.
where the tumor was, it was in the frontal lobe. So they said,
Wow.
your, because it was been growing there since birth, then you're probably not fully developed, like in your emotional, like control of things and how you might process things, such and such. And after the surgery, I remember I got, what was it? I forget what they're called, but I was assigned like cognitive, mental, like
Cognitive behavioral or therapy or something like that.
something like that, just so that they made sure that I could like think properly, think straight, and like my thoughts were kind of working in order, because I did notice that after the surgery, I just wasn't as sharp as I used to be. I did well in school, but then
Yeah, you did.
after that point, I just noticed that I'd stuff up when I'm typing. I'd type the same thing twice. I'd say the same thing twice. My thoughts would just be very disjointed. Like I couldn't think straight,
Yeah,
and it just
naturally.
became hard to like do, like even just like basic cooking, like things that I've been doing for a long time. Like I'll just go, wait, what do I need to do? I'll just forget steps, and then I'll just be missing parts to
Wow.
like the stuff that I do, and yeah, it was just
But you gained that back.
gained that back. I say slowly over
Mm.
time. There definitely were points where I was extremely frustrated at myself for just not being able to, perform as well as I could. And I didn't, at that point, I guess, during the HSC, I didn't want to just be like, oh, I'm just going to play off my not so good marks with just, oh, I had a brain surgery, I'm not going to perform as well. I mean, sure, I'm not, but I didn't want to just like brush it off like that. So I think I put pressure on myself to kind
Yeah.
of do well, having known that I've gone through this whole process. Really,
So you actually still did your HSC.
I still did my HSC the following year, to the
Okay.
surprise of pretty much everyone. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a pretty big deal.
yeah. They did give me the option of taking a year off, and just kind of graduating with the cohort after. But like having gone through high school and like half a primary with like the same group of guys, I didn't want to just like just not graduate with them, because they were they were mates for life, I guess.
Yeah.
Really.
So, you talked a little bit about how kind of you handled it. Looking back, do you feel like you were maybe a bit too optimistic in terms
I
of
think definitely
like what?
I was way too optimistic at the start, and I think that's when this whole roller coaster of a journey kind of just started, right? Because we have the surgery here, and I'm just gonna go up, 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 up. I was thinking I was gonna go up, and I guess mentally I did, but physically I just kind of got worse, and mentally got worse and worse, because I had such an optimistic outlook on it, that
Which I think is good.
which is good. I
It's
think,
a
yeah,
really
personally, yeah.
positive thing. And I think it's probably normal for a young person as well,
Yeah.
because you have your whole life ahead of you. Like,
Yeah.
you're meant to have all of this energy. You're meant to have all of this health and wellness, like
Mhm.
years of that. So as a young person, it can be quite. I think it can be very easy to be optimistic, which I think is a really positive thing. Even
Yeah.
statistically, I mean, if you look at it, what's surprising is 10 to 20% of Australian adolescents have a chronic condition.
Yeah.
And we'll go into your chronic condition later, but it actually, if this health issues and these types of things actually affect a lot of adolescents, a lot of teenagers, and
Yeah.
so you're not alone in living with that. And so what was it like, I guess, when you realized like your optimism sort of kept going up, but then your health went down? What was that? Was it like a reality check? What was that like
It
for
definitely was a reality check. I mean, like, I kept having this weird ideal that I remember I kept saying, jokingly that, as what was it? As the mind weakens, the body grows stronger, or whatever. Similar to what Professor Xavier from the X-Men.
Yeah.
I kept thinking of that. I was like,
Yes.
I may lose the ability to walk. I may lose my mobility, but just you wait, I'm gonna just pop off in my like intellect or something.
I love that.
Which looking back, I still find that kind of funny, and I kind of wish that mutants were real or something, and then we could all be X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be
Don't we
amazing.
all?
But I think you do. I think it was good to have that reality check, though. I mean, obviously it was something that's gonna come at some point, and I think it was nice having it in that year, because finishing HSC, what are you gonna do after that? It's adulthood, it's the real world, and kind of having that experience kind of grounded me in a sense and really helped me see, I guess, just take a look back on life and see what it is I wanted to do and where it is I want to go, and just, I guess, cherish the little things is what it really taught me. Cherish everyone that you've met, cherish everyone that you've known, cherish all the little, the times that you've spent with someone. I think for me that was probably one of the biggest takeaways, is the value of family and friendship during those times, especially.
Yeah. I love that, because I think to learn that at such a young age is really powerful. So after your surgery, what was the recovery period like for you? How long did it take? Like, what was that experience like? Was it sort of a bounce back, or like, was it, I mean, obviously you said that you expected to kind of just get it done and then kind of move forward, but that didn't happen straight away. What was that recovery period like for you?
I mean, like I said before, I thought it would be a roller coaster where, we just keep going up and up and up from here.
Yeah.
But in reality, it was kind of just like, here's the surgery, and then we're just gonna plummet straight down, kind of thing. Maybe not straight down, but slowly, we kind of just reach, one of the lower times. One of the probably, so far, the lowest points of my life.
Wow.
I'd say. Yeah. And
what do you mean? Like, can you elaborate on that a little bit, or?
I mean, there were times, I can't remember if it was during the HSC year or maybe the year that followed, because honestly, it was only 5 years ago, but like, even the first year of it seemed really long for me.
Yeah.
And there were just times where I kind of, or maybe it was like just a few months following, where I just kind of felt like I just wanted to kind of just have died there in the surgery table.
Wow.
I kind of just wish that it's just too much, really. And
yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot to take in at that age, especially with kind of, the HSC is to a lot of a lot of people everything, right? It's make or break point at that time. And having known that I couldn't perform as well as I can, I mean, there were times where I just wanted it all to end. I had wished, instead of having lived through the surgery, I kind of just died. I mean, the percentage that they gave me of death was like less than 1% or something, but kind of sometimes I did wish I was that 1% that did just didn't make it through. But I couldn't bring myself to keep on thinking like that, keep on thinking negatively, especially with my school. It's not a Catholic school in name, but it's very religious in its practices. And like the night before my surgery, they held a vigil in our chapel.
Wow.
And and pretty much, I think most of, not just my my classmates and like my teachers, pretty much the whole school attended. And it's kind of funny because leading up to the surgery, our headmaster visited my house and came to talk about everything. And I remember him visiting me in the hospital, and he said,
That's okay.
my boys prayed for you in the chapel.
Wow.
And I guess, in the lowest times, in the times where I kind of wanted to just, kill myself, just planning how it is I could escape from all of this, I couldn't bear the thought that all those people who went out of the way to care for me, to check up on me, even to this day, people still, they see me at a party and like, hey, how's your head going? How's your medical condition going? What's what's the latest news with that? And now it's all okay, but whenever I see them, I can't help but think that if I chose that darker path, then
Yeah.
they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't see me today and see how how much I've bounced back from that.
Yeah.
And I guess in those times, I made a promise to myself that no one should ever, especially at my age, right? There are people younger than me who have it tough, who have it
Yeah.
even tougher, and no one should feel like they have lost everything. No one should feel like they have no other way out.
Yeah.
You know, there should always be they should always have some form of hope, some source where someone, something, whatever it may be, that they can look up to and say, I want to get there. I want to be where they are. I want them to see me, bounce back.
Yeah.
I want to be, just an example to them.
Yeah. Wow.
And honestly, can I say this? I don't even know. That's why in my interview for this internship,
Yeah.
when I kind of choked up and start tearing up, I remember that promise, because I promised that I would do whatever it takes for, I'd do whatever it would take to just alleviate that, just to help people who were in
Yeah.
a situation like I was, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really not a place that you want to be in at all.
No. Wow. Thank you for sharing, and I definitely resonate with that. Just adding hope to the community and just making sure that people know that there is hope, that there's a community of people standing behind them, whether it be
Mhm.
from, for example, with you in your school. Like, Chronic Hope is a community. If people are struggling, they can get in touch with us, and so I love that, and thanks for being a part of the team.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Fast forward to today.
Yeah.
You're pretty much fully recovered from
Pretty
surgery.
much, I'd say.
You do mention that you still have a chronic condition, which is somewhat related to that brain tumor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, because my brain tumor and that thing on my left side was initially seen as seizures, they, for I guess the first 2.5 years, they kind of treated me as if I was, seizure prone. But the thing was, it never really came up on any EEG. I did like multiple tests, and it just wasn't like showing up as a seizure. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a mystery at that point. And then I got brought into the Westmead neurology ward for like a week. And at that point, after 4 days of just spending time in the ward, they said it's definitely not a seizure related condition. So they brought in the movement disorder team. And then that's how I got diagnosed with paroxysmal kinesiogenic dyskinesia, which is a form of movement disorder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is abbreviated as PKD, right? Yeah.
You can abbreviate it as PKD because it's a mouthful. To say.
Yeah, it is. Okay, wow. And statistically, PKD actually reaches around 1 in 150,000 people. So it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see that
Really
in a lot
rare.
of people. And the average time to diagnose that is 5 years, which, you've had it since you were a kid.
Yeah.
So
just like not having known that it was anything that serious,
yeah, and so you've been able to kind of find the treatment and medication that works for you.
Yep.
And so you seem to be living a fairly normal life at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to go back to this whole idea of X-Men, because I actually love that.
Oh yeah, it was probably one of the more romantic thoughts during that time.
No, but I love it because it's, I mean, I guess if you draw this X-Men, I don't know, like metaphor with chronic illness, like I think that each, like someone that's lived with a chronic condition has
Yeah.
a journey and a story, and that's powerful, and that's actually exceptional, because that means that that person has suffered and that person has lived through something that your average person doesn't live through, or
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard, and they've fought.
Yep.
And I love equating that with having a superpower,
I mean,
because it's
Yeah,
a
it is.
superpower.
if you think about the journey that you know that I went through, that anyone else with a chronic condition has gone through, being able to live through that in itself is a superpower.
Yeah,
think.
exactly. So if you could be an X-Men, which one would you be?
Oh, I
An
mean,
X-
okay, I did think, just relating to the condition I had, definitely Professor Xavier.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
for
sure,
for
yeah.
sure, right? Because it's just the most logical thing. But if I were to be an actual X-Men, I guess, I mean, Wolverine's like a pretty good pick, right? Wolverine's kind of cool. Oh, Magneto's kind of cool
yeah,
as well. I don't know.
Wolverine.
That's a hard choice, actually.
I would definitely do the Phoenix,
Phoenix?
but then she got really evil.
Yeah,
So-
and then she like dies and reincarnates or
Okay,
something.
so for people listening, send us on Instagram your X-Men of choice, and we will post it up. I can't wait for you guys to share. Each of you has a superpower if you're living with a chronic condition, and I am super excited to share that. So on another note,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to someone maybe in their teens, a young person like facing sort of either whether it be a brain tumor, chronic condition, fairly serious, what advice would you give?
What advice would I give them? Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I guess if I were to go back in time and kind of be able to see myself in that position and say something to myself, I always thought, you'll make it out all right.
Yeah.
Just take it all in, take it one day at a time. Even though at that point I didn't really want to live one day at a time. Take it one day at a time, and you'll see it through. And keep your friends close, keep your family close, keep your loved ones close, because they're really gonna be the ones that are there for you. When you don't have anyone, when you just don't see any any light at the end of the tunnel. You just see pitch black everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Even though you can't see, even though you don't know what's going on around you, I can guarantee 100% that your family and friends will be there for you. And even though it might not feel like it at times, they're definitely there, and they'll pull you through. 'Cause honestly, that's what did it for me.
Wow. Yeah. I concur. Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me on
and
here.